Hey everyone, welcome back if you're returning, welcome if you're new. It's been a while since I did a video on my 2006 Honda Accord 6-speed V6, or a video in general, so I figured I'd give a quick update since I just finished detailing the car. So I bought this car back in, I want to say October or November of 2023, so last year. It was definitely more of an impulsive, kind of last minute decision. I saw it on Auto Trader doing a random search, and I figured, well, I'm never going to come across one, or the chances of me coming across one in this condition with the miles that it has are going to be pretty slim. So I hopped in it while I could, and months later, I'm still holding on to it and trying my best to keep it in its best, stock form. Nothing really has changed since I bought it. If this is your first time watching the video on it, the car did not have the OEM rear spoiler on it when I bought it, so that was something that I installed myself. 20% window tint all around. My other car, my 2014 Accord V6, has 5%, and I'll be honest, it looks good, but in terms of functionality, even I complain about how difficult it is to see in certain conditions, so I wanted to make sure I didn't repeat that mistake on this one. I added that little, or those little, single red cam VTEC stickers. I'll be honest, I didn't expect them to be quite as big as they are, so my only complaint would be I wish that they were a bit smaller. Nonetheless, just a small aesthetic detail. The J36 speed license plate for obvious reasons. I'll be honest, I have enough self-awareness to know that this car comes across as just another plebeian run-of-the-mill family sedan. They're a dime, not this particular trim level necessarily, but these cars in general are a dime a dozen. They're still on the road everywhere, and unless you're a Honda nerd like me and a couple others, you really wouldn't know that this is a more special version of the 7th generation Accord. A few things to point out if you aren't familiar with these cars. Aside from a couple changes, it is essentially just like every other 7th generation Accord. The things that set it apart as being a V6 6-speed include those 17-inch wheels. Those evolved from the 2nd generation Acura TL Type S, and I want to say those were used on the 01 CL Type S as well. Could be incorrect on that. And then, of course, the red V6 badge as well, as opposed to the black one that would have come on automatic cars. Have my little Save the Manual sticker up there, and aside from that, the car is in stock form again. I'll hop inside and do a quick mileage check, and then finish things off with another test drive. Moving into the interior, you can see that it's just as well kept as the exterior, if not even more. A few things that set it apart as being the 6-speed V6 sedan include that full carbon fiber trim, which is found on the dual car that you can see there, and then on the center stack as well. Aside from that, pretty standard stuff. I'm very impressed by just how well these seats have held up. I had a 2004 Accord in the past, and the seats on that were absolutely trash. So again, I'm pretty happy to see that these have held up that well. And then there's where the magic comes from. That is a 6-speed manual. Has the same shift knob as a, I want to say 8th gen Civic Si would have had. It looks similar to the one in the S2000, but I think there are a few distinctions. Heated seats on both front passenger and driver seats. 2-level, and in terms of mileage, this one is only sitting at 77,484. I want to say when I bought it, it had 71,000. So I've driven it quite a bit, since October or November when I bought it. And the same can be said for the back seat. If I had to guess, I want to say an older person maybe owned this car, because for this car to only be driven, 77,000 miles, or excuse me, 71,000 at the time I bought it, was really surprising. Something that all 7th generation Accords suffer from. At a certain point, it's kind of inevitable for that headliner to start sagging. This one has started, but it's not to the point where it's, hanging down from the ceiling. So not too bad. I can definitely see myself changing that in the future though. Before I move on to the driving footage, I'll point out one inconsistency in the car. Something very minor, and again, another aesthetic thing, so I'm not too concerned about it. But the window visors, so you can see on the driver's side, both are completely intact. I've kind of gone in and reinforced them with some 3M tape that I had of my own. But on the passenger side, unfortunately, both of them have fallen victim to car washes. So at some point, I'm going to get a new set of 4 just to make sure everything is back to how it needs to be. On my 9th gen Accord, the exact same is the case. We had a pretty bad, I wouldn't even call it a hurricane, but a pretty bad windstorm one day in South Carolina, or my area of South Carolina at least. And as I was driving, the driver's front window visor on my 9th gen Accord fell victim. Nonetheless, again, just wanted to do a quick walk around and update of the car. Nothing too much has changed aside from the small things that I pointed out. Again, it's a pretty full circle experience to own this. I was a kid when these cars came out and absolutely fell in love with them, and I never thought that I would own an example that was quite as nice as this. One last thing, this car is definitely an inspiration of Redline Reviews. If you follow car channels, he reviewed one that was pretty much identical to this. There's something that that one has that mine didn't. One thing would definitely be the fog lights. I do remember that. And then I want to say that other one had navigation as well, but aside from that, pretty much identical cars. I don't miss the navigation at all in this one, and I don't plan on replacing that stock head unit. Nonetheless, we're going to hop into some driving footage and then we'll end things off. In terms of sound, I actually always disconnect my little microphone anytime I do driving footage. The microphone works well when I'm speaking, but in terms of the noise of the car, the sound of the car, kind of makes it more muted. And this car is already pretty quiet to begin with. Completely stock exhaust, intake, all of that stuff. I'm a little bit hesitant on messing with the exhaust. I had a muffler delete on my 9th gen Accord for some months. It sounded absolutely awful. Ended up reversing that. So I've been looking into some actual good solid exhaust systems for the J30A1, and hopefully I can come across something. Nonetheless, we'll go for a quick drive. I'm only about 5 minutes or so away from home, so it'll be pretty short. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy. I'll keep this as a pretty relaxed drive. I have some previous videos where I did some acceleration runs in this car, so if you want to hear VTEC and all of that stuff, I guess those would be the better options to check out. Of it being, just a Honda Accord definitely comes through in the driving experience when you're driving in a, relaxed or normal manner, as I am right now. Road noise has always been a thing for Accords, or maybe Hondas in general. I have the most experience with Accords, so I can speak on that. And road noise has always been somewhat of an issue, I guess, if you want to call it that. Clearly, I've bought 4 Honda Accords at this point, so it's not a deterrent, in my eyes at least. But aside from that, it is very smooth to drive. Fuel economy, if you're really concerned about fuel economy, I always recommend a 4-cylinder Accord. And there are a few advantages that a 4-cylinder Accord has over a 6-cylinder counterpart. Clearly, you're going to have less power, but in return for that, you'll get greater fuel economy. The K24 that the 7th generation Accord used had a timing chain as opposed to a timing belt like this. This car has 77,000 miles on it. Again, 71,000 at the time that I bought it. And service history is there. So I know a little bit about what the previous owner had done to the car, but the Carfax did not mention the timing belt. So, being 18 years old at this point, despite the fact that it's under 100,000 miles, the timing belt is definitely something that I'm gonna, invest in sooner rather than later. It's a pretty expensive job that I've had to do on 2 cars at this point. This will make number 3. But again, of course, there's a trade-off for every single thing. So you get more power in this, it's more fun to drive, etc. The trade-off is just the fact that you have to worry about that timing belt. Again, I don't consider that to be a deterrent at all. I think the car is worth it, and the J Series has been in production for nearly 30 years at this point. So clearly it's proven, and clearly they knew/know, what they're doing. as we kind of bring things to a close, in terms of rarity, it's a Honda Accord, so it's not as rare as, you know, some other options. But this particular spec or trim or configuration, I should say, I've only seen, I want to say, 3 other ones around my area of South Carolina. There's a kind of reddish color one. I think that color is Redondo Red Pearl, if I remember correctly. There's a red color one, that's a sedan as well, of course. There is a kind of bronze color that I've seen within, you know, 10 minutes or so of where I'm at. And then another bronze one I actually saw at a car meet. And the guy ended up exchanging information with myself because he does some work on Acuras and Hondas. So in the case that, you know, I have any questions, it's nice to have that person as a resource. Not only does he have the exact same car, but he also has extensive, you know, experience with everything from, you know, Accords to MDXs, so on and so forth. So that was nice. Nonetheless, I'm back at home, so I'm going to wrap up the driving portion of this. I appreciate you watching as always, and I look forward to recording some more footage for my 9th gen Accord sooner rather than later.